Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. What do they say about mad dogs and Englishmen? Go out in the midday sun. Mate, it's midday, 19th of July, 2024. It's a hot one. So, looking forward to a nice cold drink. I've had some water on board on my tab, but it's gone all warm and horrible. So, in the shade here, it's lovely. So, I want to talk to you today about one of our secret wars. Now, obviously, all countries have secret wars, deniable operations, black ops, call it what you like. And let me tell you, the UK's had our fair share of it. So 19th of July, that's today, 2024, but 52 years ago, on the 19th of July, 1972, a small unit, 9 SAS troopers and 1 corporal from the military intelligence, with some Omani guys, etc., were held out in a bat house, British Army training team house, bat house they called it, in a little fort just outside the fishing village of Mirbat in the Oman, the Middle East. Now, 1969, that's when Britain decided to try and help Oman out, because it was a vital staging post. Oman, run by Sultan of Oman, was a country back in medieval times back then. I mean, it was basic as anything. And communist force called the Adoo, backed by China and the USSR, Soviet Union back then, decided they would help this left-wing militia, the Adoo. I think they were called Popular Front Liberation, People's Front of Judea, Popular Front of Judea, Splitters, something like that. I can't remember the actual title, but they were called the Adoo. So anyway, a bit of a Monty Python one there. So anyway, we decided that we needed to keep that free of communism, because if we didn't, if it fell to these communists, this left-wing militia, backed by the Soviet Union, backed by China, then that was so strategic, we would lose control of that area. Now, Oman, as a whole in the Gulf there, that would have commanded the Straits of Hormuz. And as you know, the Straits of Hormuz out there are vitally important for the majority of the oil that comes out of the Gulf. So it was imperative. So the Heath government was in at the time, I believe. Old Edward Heath, he was in at the time. And he said, well, I'm not going to send out big invasion force. I'm going to keep this low key. We'll send out some advisors. Always starts right, doesn't it? We'll send out some advisors. So I think G Squad and SAS were out there at one time. But we never sent massively formed units. We sent bits and pieces. So we were sending out, there's a little bit of 2-para went out there, mostly in a training role in Oman. And the Royal Marines went out, the RF Regiment were out there. There was a flight of Wessex helicopters. There was bits and pieces to try and support this ragtag army and build it up to strength, because the Soviets and the Chinese had really well equipped the Adoo. Obviously, they were armed with AK-47s and the rest of it, all the Soviet kit, all the communist China kit. They were trained, they were motivated, very brave apparently. You listen to an account of the battle from SS troopers that were there. It was, they were a brave and well-equipped enemy. So anyway, it's been going on since 69, but on the 19th of July, in 1972, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Mike Keeley, Captain Mike Keeley as he was then, was the commander of the 9-man strong SAS training team out there, looked out across the desert from the bat house and saw waves of troops coming towards them. And he thought initially it was the night picket, the Omani night picket, because out on the slopes, right out, they'd put a night picket out at night just to warn, like an early warning, since we're only approaching Adoo. He quickly realised it wasn't the night picket. The night picket had their throats slashed and they'd gone. And so once he realised that, he ordered everyone to open fire. Now, all they had was their SLRs, good old SLRs. At the moment, the Adoo are about 800 metres away, so or beyond. So it really wasn't going to be very effective to start using SLRs at that range. They did open fire on ones that were closer. They had one mortar, I think it's a 66 mortar, but they also had about 800 metres away from the bat house in a pit, a sandbag pit. They had a good old 25-pounder artillery piece. They had one 50 cal Browning machine gun. So obviously, as the Adoo come closer, they started to engage them with small arms that they had, the SLRs and the 50 cal. Now, there were some Omani gendarmes there as well, and like I say, a few other bits and pieces. But anyway, the battle started to get underway. A very brave Fijian sergeant in the SAS, Laba Laba, he made the run from the bat house, 800 metres, under fire, and got into the gun pit. There was an Omani policeman who had been guarding it, but he was wounded. So Laba Laba decided to operate that 25-pounder artillery piece on his Jack Jones. On his Jack. And normally it's, what is it, 4, 5-man crew, 6-man crew on a 25-pounder, the old 25-pounder. Laba Laba managed to fire that onto the advancing Adoo single-handedly. And he was firing around a minute. Now, I don't know if the shells come pre-charged on 25-pounder. I remember the old pack howitzer. You had charge bags you had to put into the casing and make the two together. I don't know how the 25-pounder worked before my time. Anyone that knows, let me know. Maybe the shells were preloaded, I don't know. But he started to whack them with that, which drew attention away from the bat house somewhat, because they started to engage Laba Laba's position in the gun pit. So the battle's raging on. They're getting closer now. Laba Laba gets wounded. So he reports he's been wounded. And Captain Mike Keeley asked for a volunteer to go out and support Laba Laba to keep the gun going in the pit, because it was doing some good job. He was doing a good bit of work on the Adoo. So another Fijian lad, Taka, trooper, he decided he'd make the dash across open ground, 800 metres under fire. And he got to their pit, and he could see that Laba Laba was injured, and he helped him, and they carried on firing the gun. Laba Laba was propped up against some sandbags. He was trying to return fire with his rifle. The battle raged on. It was crazy. I think in the end, Captain Keeley and another trooper, SS Trooper Tobin, they've made a dash across as well under fire and got into the pit. At that stage, I think Laba Laba was killed. I think he was going for the 66 mortar, and he took another round and he died. Tobin was reaching across one of the bodies. He took a round to the face. He died about 4 days later. So now you got two dead, Sergeant Laba, and you got this young trooper, Tobin, both dead. Well, Tobin was mortally wounded. The Adoo were in close enough range to throw grenades. Luckily, they weren't fused properly, and the only one that went off, they'd thrown it went over the gun pit and landed behind the sandbags. But one landed at Mike Keeley's feet and didn't detonate, and another one landed near somebody and it didn't go off either. That would have killed both of them instantly, without a doubt. Landed at their feet. So they weren't fused properly, or they were just duds, I don't know. So they managed to get through on the radio and got some air support in. There was 3 Strike Master aircraft. Cloud was quite low, so they had to come in quite low themselves, and they strafed the Adoo, and then they'd use up all their weapons on board, and their fuel would go back, reload, and come back out. So the battle started at 6 o'clock in the morning. I believed it finished by about midday. The Strike Master aircraft were key in the battle, finishing it off. But you can't take anything away from those SAS soldiers that fought a battle against up to 400 Adoo. Absolutely incredible. Medals, well, there was a couple of military medals given out to some SAS lads. 2 of them got a military medal. I can't remember which 2 it was. The captain, Mike Keeley, he got the Distinguished Service Order. And I think one of the others, was it not Tobin? One of the others got a Distinguished Conduct Medal as well. The sergeant that died, that had been manning the gun, Laba Laba, he got a mention in dispatches. A mention in dispatches for firing that gun for over an hour. Wounded. More than once he was wounded, and he carried on firing that gun, keeping the Adoo at bay. And they gave him a mention in dispatches. Now, people have been campaigning, especially SAS veterans, that they've been campaigning for some time to get a Victoria Cross for Laba Laba, and I think one of the other guys as well, to upgrade them to a Victoria Cross. But it ain't happened, and it ain't going to happen. Successive governments have been approached, and they ain't going to do it. And I can't see this lot that's in 10 Downing Street now going to do it either. So it was a bit of a secret war. Most of the population back in UK didn't know what was going on. It was kept very, very low key out of the press. People didn't realise what was going on. I remember when I got to Germany in 77, and we had some parade and lads were putting their number 2 dress, and I noticed that a few of the lads had got the General Service Medal, the Campaign Service Medal, which you get for Northern Ireland, say, and it had a bar with Northern Ireland. Some had a second bar that said Dhofar on it. Like I say, there were some locators out there, Sound Rangers, I believe, that were out there, and some from 2-2 Battery in Larkhill, and some from 9-4 Locating Regiment out in Celle in Germany. And as I say, there's bits and bobs of other units around Solala, that area. This battle, Mirbat, took place in the village of Mirbat, on the edge of Mirbat, 52 years ago. So today is the 52nd anniversary of that battle. If you haven't heard of this battle, I'm no historian, I'll just give you a bit of background on it. What I'd like you to do is, if you're interested, look it up, go on Google, YouTube, there's some videos on YouTube, there's some personal accounts from some of the SAS veterans that fought at the Battle of Mirbat. It's well worth having a look at those if you're interested. My little video is not a history lesson. As I say, I'm not a historian. My little video is just to make awareness to some people of that battle that went on, that secret war that the UK was involved in. But also it's to pay a bit of tribute to those lads that fought and the ones that died out in Oman in 1972 at the Battle of Mirbat. They will not be forgotten. We will remember them. So please, it's the end of my little video. Have a look at Mirbat if you've got any interest in it at all. I think you'll find it interesting. So, that's the end of my video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying consider it. Till next time, troops, and it won't be long. Remember, stay safe, stay hydrated. It's hot today. And remember, less tab.